So let's go ahead and get started. I think we have enough people to get started here. Welcome everyone. Welcome to our first quarterly Port Laredo Trade Trends 2020 Trade Update. Today we're going to focus primarily on perishables. There you go. My name is Ken Roberts. I'm the president of WorldCity. Franciscus-Timm is going to be speaking. He's the Senior Business Development Manager for U.S. Cold Storage. A little bit about myself. I'm a contributor to Forbes.com. I write 5 columns a month for them. I'm a member of the Federal Reserve's Trade and Transportation Advisory Board, and actually my 2-year term is expiring this year, so I've been on there for 6 years. We analyze U.S. Census Bureau data, and we'll show you a good bit of that at USTradeNumbers.com. We'll spend a good bit of the webinar looking at that data as it pertains to perishables. And we publish trade numbers products for more than 20 markets around the country, and that would of course include Laredo, where we've been producing Laredo trade numbers for, I would say, 12 years now. We release trade matters videos on a weekly basis, and I speak on international trade to Fortune 500 companies, national and local trade organizations like this, and more. We could not do this event without the support of our corporate sponsors. That's the City of Laredo in the form of the World Trade Bridge, the Convention and Visitor Bureau, and the Laredo International Airport. However, in addition, we have wonderful support from the Laredo Chamber of Commerce, the Laredo Economic Development Corporation, and the Laredo Motor Carriers Association. We have a real nice turnout today, so we're excited about that. So questions, at any time if you have questions, feel free to jump right in with those questions. I'll be happy to try to answer them, or Tim will be happy to try to answer them as we go. And you would just enter them in the queue there, the Q&A queue. You can also answer them at the end. At the end, we try to leave a little time for questions if they exist, but whenever you're ready, you're free to ask questions. If you have not seen Port Laredo trade numbers this year, this is what it looks like. Those of you who've seen Port Laredo trade numbers in years past realize this is a significant improvement over what we've done in the past. We did a complete redesign, heavy reliance on what's called data visualization. So it's loaded with colorful infographics and other essential trade data. Port Laredo's total trade for 2019 was $231.58 billion. And this is what one of the pages looks like. As you see, it's a lot of data there. On the inside, again, quite colorful, quite a lot of data. This 2-page spread in your lower right portion of your screen. If you have to spend a few minutes with it, but what it shows is the top 10 exports and the top 10 imports and how they fared over the course of the year. The size of the circle tells you how big in volume that export was in dollar value, and where it is on the horizontal grid tells you if it went up or down over the course of the year. So really a lot of great data there throughout the publication. You can download that publication, by the way, at USTradeNumbers.com, as well as previous year's versions and a number of others. So we're going to start with Tim. Tim Franciscus-Timm is a well-known to many of you. He's currently the Senior Business Development Manager for United States Cold Storage, U.S. Cold Storage. He graduated with a degree in Industrial Management and College of Engineering from Texas A&M in Kingsville. He worked as the Industrial Development Specialist for the Laredo Economic Development Corporation, formerly the LDF. He was the Marketing Manager for Laredo International Airport. And as I said, he's currently with U.S. Cold Storage. He's fluent in English and Spanish, and he resides in Argyle, Texas, which is near Dallas, with his wife and 2 daughters. And if Tim is ready, this is not Tim, is it? That was not Tim. Let's see, we got Tim here somewhere? I don't think we have Tim. We may have to skip Tim and come back to Tim. Tim, are you with us? I'm going to let Tatiana see if she can round up Tim, but I'm going to skip ahead then because I don't think he's with us at the moment. Let me just see if I've got an email from Tim about anything. I don't see anything. So I'm going to skip ahead to the trade overview. And we're going to start when Tim joins us. We'll get to his portion of the presentation. And what we'll do here then is I'm going to stop the sharing for a minute, and I'm going to start some polling. So I'm going to ask you guys to answer a few questions to see how knowledgeable you are about Laredo's trade, okay? So here's the first one. I'll give you a little bit of time to look at it and decide. In the month of October, and by the way, this is the most recent trade data available, Port Laredo's trade was down more than 5%, was down less than 1%, was up less than 1%, or was up more than 5%. I'll give you a few minutes there. I'll give you just a few more seconds. I think most everybody's, this one's a little tricky and not obvious. Okay, I'm going to share the results with you. This is what you said. Those of you who answered, the top answer with about 2/3 of the answers was up more than 5%. So now let me go up on the screen share again, and oh, wait a minute, I got to get this off the screen. Hold on, give me a second here. Give me 1 second here. Here we go, that's what I want. There's Tim. We'll get to Tim in just a second here. So here's the answer to your first question. This is off ustradenumbers.com, the Port Laredo page. And by the way, I should note that the city of Laredo is sponsoring this page, so it is open. Most people, when they come to our website for any other airport, seaport, or border crossing, can only see essentially this amount of information, but because of the support of the city of Port Laredo, you can see a lot more information. So the correct answer to that first question was 7.51% is the increase. In the month, this is in the upper left corner, the increase in the month of October when compared to the previous Octobers. That's really good in a very, very tough year. Let me show you what this year has looked like for most everyone. And in case you can't read them, the months here, the little V here in the bottom, that is April and May. That drop is April and May. And this is a chart that you can see around the country for any airport, seaport, or border crossing. It looks somewhat similar to this. Sometimes a steeper decline, sometimes a little less, sometimes coming out of the valleys a little bit less quick, sometimes a little more quick, but this is pretty much what everybody looks like, where when the country shut down in April and May, the trade dropped tremendously. So for the year though, trade is down 14.6%, as you can see from this story that's here. And you can read more about it here. Clearly, all that really matters in terms of countries for you guys is Mexico, and that's down 14.95%. In the export and import area, big problem with motor vehicle parts, internal combustion engines. You know, automotive is a big piece of what happens in Laredo in terms of the dollar value of all that trade, right? So you can see all those have taken a big tumble. Okay. So what I'm going to do now is Tim has joined us. So I'm going to go back to the top of the page and stop this share, and we're going to stop that as well. And we will now turn this over to, I'll ask Tim a couple of questions. And welcome, Tim. I'm glad you're here.
Hey, I apologize for technical difficulties in getting logged in, Ken, but always good to see you and the rest of the folks that are on your.
That's right. I said, you know, that guy grew a beard Tim grew a beard really fast all of a sudden. I said, I just talked to him a day or two ago and he didn't have a beard. So anyway, Tim, welcome. So as I said, Tim works for U.S. Cold Storage Most of you, if you're in the perishable space, you're familiar with U.S. Cold Storage, one of the really, really large players in the space in the country. So when Tim and I talked, I asked him a few things, what he saw going on. And so I thought I'd start with one thing that you said to me, and we'll see it in the data when I get to that, because we're going to have a whole portion where I'll look at specific imports and exports in the perishable space and how they're doing this year. But you said Laredo's doing particularly well. Tell me, through the COVID situation, tell me what's going on, why that is.
Sure. Laredo's fared quite well compared to the other facilities across the country. I think a lot of that has to do with obviously the currency in Mexico. Products in Mexico are considerably less expensive right now in the global market. So we're seeing quite a bit of imports. Growing seasons and those types of things also affect Laredo much more than growing season in Mexico affect Laredo much more than our other facilities across the country, which depend a lot more on direct deliveries to food service warehouses such as US Foods and Cisco. And they've been impacted substantially more than our facilities down in Laredo.
Great. Okay, so what makes Laredo unique? We also talked a little bit about that. You described Laredo's role in perishable trade as somewhat unique. How would you lay that out for us? And by the way, I before you came on, I introduced you as someone who would be quite familiar to many, many people in this audience today. So I'm sure they're happy to see you.
Correct. And I know Jerry, general manager of our Laredo 2 and Laredo 3 facility are on, as well as Alonso. So how you doing, guys? Laredo, unlike some of our competitors, we don't have a huge presence at a lot of the maritime ports of entry. But we do have a presence, in Miami. We have a presence in Lake City. We have a presence up in the Northeast, but not right on the port. So for us, Laredo is a little bit unique because it is, obviously it's on the largest land port in the United States. So it is quite unique for us as a company. And a lot of the customers that we have they're from Mexico. That facility depends, 95% on activity to and from Mexico. So it's dependent on another country. Here in the Metroplex, our plants here are dependent on specifically what, most of what we do here in the Metroplex is dependent on U.S. companies, U.S. economy, U.S. COVID, et cetera. So Laredo's unique. And in this particular year, it's been a blessing, obviously, to have the plants down in Laredo. And we're excited about what 2021 brings.
Okay. Yeah. And speaking of 2021, what's going on with rates? The rates are moving a little bit, it seems, right?
Correct. There's obviously a large demand on the outbound trucking lanes, both reefer and dry van, from Laredo to Dallas and Chicago and other parts of the country. A lot of that demand, again, has been driven by the inexpensive products down in Mexico. But what that means is there's always opportunities for backhauls, right? So the idea is that we would ask our folks exporting product down into Mexico to look for those backhaul for those reefers that are going into the central U.S. that are hauling product to Mexico to tap into those. There's going to be some competitive freight rates out there, but Laredo outbound right now, the market's really strong.
Yeah. And one last question that's sort of interesting to me is because I've been reading quite a bit about this, and we talked a little bit about this. There's been this massive shift from perishable food delivered to the restaurant side and hotel side and so forth to the consumer side, the grocery side.
Correct.
And I think from your point of view, you said there wasn't a lot of disruption, but one thing I read that was fascinating, the volume of, and this is why I think it may not have settled out yet, how this is going to play. The volume of online purchases at grocery stores from August of 2019 to today has gone from 2 billion to 8 billion. Mm-hmm. Big piece of that is pickup at the grocery store, but still from 2 billion to 8 billion. So it'll be interesting to see how, as consumers figure out how to do that better, because I'm sure it's a learning exercise for consumers. But so it didn't cause any big changes for you guys, though. Is that right?
We obviously saw a decline on the food service side, but we did see quite an increase on the retail side for not only our facilities but our customers as well. Us as a company, obviously, we're very aware of what's going on the the internet side of food. and the online ordering and how we can play a part there. So we've already got some partnerships with some of the large players, just trying to across the country. So we're just trying to figure out how we can play in that. There's always going to be a demand on the retail side, but the opportunity obviously is really tapping into that. I say direct to consumer, cold storage or produce and perishable selling that's going on here in the U.S.
Yeah. Why don't you describe quickly a little bit the presence you have in Laredo, the space you have available to build on, the employees you have, and so forth?
Sure. So right now in Laredo, we've got roughly 200 employees at our 3 facilities. Our newest facility, what we call Laredo 1, the facility out on Mines Road that most of the folks in the audience are the most familiar with. That facility, along with the other 2 facilities, make up about 16 million cubic feet down in Laredo. So warehousing folks, dry storage folks are going to be more accustomed to hearing square footage. That equates to somewhere, 550,000 square feet of storage space, about 67,000 pallet positions down in Laredo. And at the site of our Laredo 1 facility on Mines Road, what you see is phase 1. We purchased enough land for 3 phases. So we're excited about the possibilities of, expansion in the future at a Laredo 1 facility.
Yeah, and thank you to Teclo Garcia for giving me some information on. I think there's a lot of people who are bullish, in addition to you guys, on Laredo and its promise. Mastronardi's got a big expansion coming. Mission Produce in a big way. They're going to have 260,000 square feet. Mastronardi 185,000 square feet, and Garros Produce, new build, 22,000 square feet. He's got you listed here, U.S. Cold Storage. And then, so there's, and Laredo Cold Service also, 15,000 square foot expansion. So there's a lot of promise. So sometimes you don't want competition, but sometimes what competition even tells you is, well, we're in the right space. Everybody else is doing it, then we're in the right space.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we've been on Laredo for 50, 60 years. We're not new to the market.
Yep.
And so we continue to have kind of the organic growth. A lot of our competitors nationally have grown via acquisition. In our particular case, not only in Laredo, but across the country, we've really grown organically with our customer base that we have had for decades, in addition to new customers.
Yeah. Okay, so I'm going to, if there's no questions for Tim or me at this point, I'm going to launch a second poll question for you. And there you go. Which one of the following is true? Port Laredo ranks 2nd nationally, but 1st for imports. Port Laredo ranks 3rd nationally, but 1st for exports. Port Laredo ranks 4th nationally and 3rd for imports. This is a tough one, I got to say. Let's see how you do with this one. And this is for the month of October, which is the most recent data. Or it could be year to date. I don't think it changes. But I'll give you a little hint. It's a change from last year. Now that a bunch of you have already answered. Okay, I think we got most of the answers we're going to get. So the biggest answer was Port Laredo ranked 2nd nationally, but 1st for imports. And last year, Port Laredo did rank 2nd, but not 1st for imports. 1st for imports is going to be Port of Los Angeles. Port Laredo ranks 3rd nationally, but 1st for exports is actually the correct answer. Port Laredo has ranked 1st for exports for a number of years because of such a large amount. First of all, the tremendous volume of overall trade, but there's a tremendous amount of exports going into Mexico every year. Oh, I didn't share the results. Sorry, there you go. My fault. So there was the answer. So most of you thought it was the first one, but it's actually the second one. So I'm going to now go back to screen share. We're going to walk through some of the perishable stuff now.
You do have a question for Tim.
Oh, question for Tim. Can you ask it, Tatiana? Because I now can't see it.
Sure thing. So from Teclo, what are the most valuable produce commodities in the market? Avocados, what else?
Okay. So in terms of commodities that are strong in the Laredo market, it's really seasonal. Obviously, avocados are, I say, year round. You've got your time of the year when California is strong, but you've also got a season down in Mexico for both fresh and frozen. The same goes for your berries. Obviously, your tomatoes. I'd say tomatoes and berries are probably your top two commodities that are the strongest. But again, it all has to do with the seasons and the growing seasons down in Mexico. So you have spikes and you have valleys for each of those commodities. I say for each of those, but for overall commodities coming out of Mexico.
And I'm actually going to jump. That's a good lead into where I'm actually headed here. So here's the Laredo page. But so I'm going to look at exports, and I'm going to look at them in the value first, going from biggest to smallest. Then I'll jump over to the import side. And this will sort of show you Laredo's role. Oh, wait a minute here. I got another question for you. I'm sorry. I got another survey question for you. You didn't know it was going to be so hard, did you? Okay, so here's the export question. How about this for a timely question, given what Teklo wanted to know? Among Laredo's perishable exports, which one ranks second to corn in value? These are all values. So corn is the most valuable export through Laredo. Is it beef, fresh or chilled, chicken or other poultry, or pork, fresh or frozen?
I saw Teklo's question was produce. So yeah, that's a great lead into the meats. We do a lot of those down Laredo also.
Yeah.
I say we do. Us and a lot of the folks in Laredo do.
And there'll be a fair amount of the produce stuff in the presentation when I go. It's not an easy question. I'll wait for a few more answers. The reason it says beef, fresh or chilled, there is a frozen beef category, and chicken and pork are both, chicken does include turkey, but is largely chicken. And chicken and pork are both fresh or frozen. And you'd have to ask your US government why they broke it out that way. I don't know the answer to that question. All right, we got 30 answers here. And here's the results. Pretty close. 14 of you said beef, 12 of you said chicken, and 4 of you said pork. And you'll be surprised to know that the answer is pork. So here's corn. And look at the increase in corn in the upper left corner. They're up 53%.
Oh, dear Ken, we can't see your screen now. Can you see it, Tim?
No, you're correct, Tatiana.
Let me see what's wrong there. Let me try that again. Maybe I didn't push a button that I was supposed to push. Hold on here. Let's try now. How about now? Thank you. You see it now? No?
No.
Nope, not yet, Ken.
We got a glitch here then. Let me see what's going on.
We can still see your poll results, but we cannot see anything.
I wonder if that's the problem. I wonder if I have to get rid of the poll results to stop sharing. Oh, I wonder if that's it. Okay, let's try that then. Let's try that one more time. There and there. That may be the ticket. Now do you see? Now I can tell you don't see because there's not the. It says
Not yet.
This is real. There may be a glitch here then because that will make this a lot less interesting discussion. Let me try one more time. Boom. Okay, that's it. This should work. I don't know why. Oh, I bet I know why. No, I don't know why. That's not working, huh? No, it's not putting the line around it like it usually does. Let me try one other thing first. If not, we'll figure something out here.
Yeah, let me see if I can share my screen and give you access.
Oh, you have it up on your screen too, don't you? Let me see if this is the PowerPoint presentation, which I don't. Yeah, that's sharing. Okay, I can see that's working. Right? You can see the.
We can see the top portion of your screen. There it is. Okay.
There you go. I'm seeing your screen now.
Yeah, so that's the PowerPoint. We don't want to show that. So there's something with the. Let me try it again. Yeah, it's giving me a weird. It's not letting me share this page. Sharing is paused. You bring your shared window to the front. I don't even know what that means. I apologize for this, folks. Let me, sharing is paused. Okay, so I got to unpause it somehow. Do you unpause? Resume share. Oh, resume share? No. Tatiana, can you share this?
Yep, pulling it up right now.
I don't know. I'm doing everything I always do. It's just not working. Sharing is paused. Sharing is paused. You can hear me fine though, right? Oh, maybe you can't hear me. Can you hear me, Tim? And
Yes, I can hear you, but I cannot see anything.
yeah, that is, this is going to make it less fun today. I'm going to see if Tatiana has a backup, luckily. I apologize for this, folks. Let's see if you can. I mean, I can, there we go.
Yep.
You got it up. There you go. Oh, but you don't have all the win pages open. Oh boy.
I don't. I just gave you access to my page, Ken.
Okay, this will take a while, folks, because I don't remember these pages by heart. So, okay. You know, you can do it with the link I sent you in chat, right? All those links I sent you?
Oh yeah, the other ones. Give me 1 second. I'll pull them up.
Or was that FAR? Was that we did FAR this morning? That might have been. No, I think that was Laredo, wasn't it?
No,
Is it FAR?
that's right.
Well, let's just see. We're gonna have to sort of. Oh, but I can't change the. You can only. So well, I can tell you what you want to go to. Let me do that.
You got it. I'll drive.
Go to corn. Now I'm gonna have to see. Oh, I can't. No, I can't do that. So I gotta see these.
Imports or exports?
Exports. Thank you. Yeah, this thing has vanished on me. Oh, here we go. So yeah, U.S. exports of corn is what you want first there, Tatiana.
Yep. Can you guys see my corn exports?
I can see it.
There you go.
Perfect. Go ahead, Trey.
Okay, so what you see there is corn exports are up 53, almost 54% this year alone, when compared in this month of October compared to the previous month of previous October, right? And even compared to last month, they're up about 4%. Overall, exports are down 6.87%. So that's a tremendous tremendous jump. And as a rank, and that's on the far right there, among U.S. exports, corn ranks 33 now, and then last year it ranks number 60. If you scroll down on the page, you'll see that, let's see if we can, there you go. So Mexico is a big market, about 30%, okay? But if you continue to scroll down, you'll see where that corn is leaving from. And you'll see the Port of New Orleans and another Louisiana port, and then Port Laredo is third, with 8.2% of all corn exports from the U.S. go through Port Laredo. And it's not one you would traditionally think of as being important to Port Laredo. So Tatiana, if you can now go to exports of pork. There you go. And you're getting a good lesson here in how to use our website, by the way.
Navigate. Yep.
Yeah, how to navigate the website. I had all the tabs set up so we wouldn't have to wait for it. So here's pork. Pork is ranks number 51, and we'll get to beef and chicken here in a minute, but pork ranks number 51. And pork exports are up 10.31% this year. So pretty impressive. increase. And if you scroll down again, you'll see where those exports go to. They go to China, Japan, and Mexico. Those of you may know this, but China is the world's largest, both the world's largest pork producer and the world's largest pork consumer. They really, really like pork, and they dealt with African swine fever, I believe it was, that almost decimated their entire pork crop. So it's become a very big export from the United States to China. But as you can see, Mexico takes about 14% of that. If you scroll down a little bit more, you'll see that Port Laredo has a clear value, a clear role in that, at 7-8%. Okay. And now we're going to go to chicken and other poultry exports again. There you go. So on our website, the top portion that you see on all these pages is available for anybody to look at. And then we have different subscriber levels. You can subscribe and see the full page. You can subscribe and get downloads, and you can subscribe and drill down. So here's exports of chicken. They rank number 70, and they're up 5% this year. If we scroll down again, we'll see where that chicken leaves from. You'll see Mexico and is number 1, followed by China. If you scroll down further, you'll see that Port of Savannah is a big port for that. There's a lot of chicken production in Georgia, but you see Port Laredo is second at 16%. So a really strong player in the chicken market as well. And that's going to be obviously chicken headed for Mexico. And then the next one, Tatiana, will be beef, fresh or chilled. Again, still on the export side. And there you go. So what you can see is, and you see the search bar at the top there. You got a blue search bar, but that Tatiana is using. And then beef exports from the U.S. Up 8.79%. We can scroll down and see where those beef exports go from and go to. Japan likes our beef. South Korea, Canada. A lot of that beef leaves from Port of Oakland.
I guess just an interesting tidbit, Ken, but those number one, I say, countries of export really drive the market and also affects our activity down in Laredo. If prices are better in those foreign countries that are moving through other ports, such as, maybe China and Japan, yep, we won't see as much activity going south into Mexico. But, when Mexico is willing to pay a stronger price, we see an increase in activity down in Laredo.
Yeah, and you see Port Laredo is still a player there. Again, 12% of all exports of fresh or chilled beef are from there. We're going to switch over to the import side, but I'm going to try to, I'd like to ask a question. Can you stop the share just for a second? I'll ask an import survey question for you, then we'll get you back up. And I may see if I can get back on with mine, Tatiana. I have a feeling I will not be able to, but there's just...
And you do have a question in the Q&A as well.
Good, let's see what that question is. Question, can you show exports of e-commerce? Is that a subcategory that is captured? Amazon Mexico is importing so much from the U.S. through Laredo now that's why I ask. The COVID vaccines by Pfizer, Moderna, et cetera, that Mexico buys, will they go through Laredo, Miami, or other airport? So the first piece of that question, exports of e-commerce are not a specific category. They tend to show up in a category, well, they can show up in a number of places, but they tend to show up in a category called low-value shipments. And that category is for products, and they're different on export and import side, so I can't remember the exact number, but let's say it's $250 on one side and $500 the other way. So they're things that you would typically think of as things that would be bought via e-commerce. And so that is a particular category called low-value shipments. And it's one of the, I've been doing this data for 20 years or so. And I have to be honest, when I started, I would see this thing, low value shipments, and it wasn't very important. It wasn't very big. And I quite frankly didn't pay much attention to it. But then it kept creeping up the rankings. And I had to start figuring out what this was. And at first it was more things like FedEx and UPS and DHL courier packages, right? But eventually as e-commerce took hold, it became a bigger and bigger thing. So we can try to look at a page for low value shipments for Mexico and see if what we can see there. But it's not pure, as your question would ask. It's not a pure category. The second question was the COVID vaccines by Pfizer, Moderna, et cetera, that Mexico buys. Will they go through Laredo, Miami, or other airport? I think that's still being determined, but I would assume they're going to generally fly, but that's not necessarily true because they could, it could run from, they could go otherwise, but they are going to be so tightly controlled. And Tim and I talked about this. I was asking him about COVID-19 specifically and how it not affect the perishable movement, but just were they getting, and you've been getting inquiries, right, Tim, about COVID?
Correct. Yeah, I say inquiries more from the outside, the press and those types of things, in discussions just like you're having right now with whether or not we handle or could, hold those vaccines in our facilities. Yeah,
and the answer was no, because you deal with food. And I don't know as much about Moderna, but Pfizer in particular, as many of you know, requires extreme cold temperatures. So it's handling, I think Pfizer is largely trying to take control of as much of that process as it can. And that should come online in the next day or two. I think, my feeling was when I thought about which airports you would see most busy with vaccines, I looked and most quickly to Chicago, which already does a lot of that type work, O'Hare, LAX because of its connection to Asia, Miami because of its connection to Latin America, and maybe DFW as well because it has connections both to Latin America and Asia. But it's a good question. Would some cross the border at Laredo? I just think the storage might be such a challenge for that period of time because it has to be kept so very, very cold. But I don't know the answer specifically.
And Jason, also made a comment here saying American Airlines has a big contract. Recently saw the report.
Say that again. Oh, that was one of the comments.
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay.
American Airlines has a big contract. Yep.
Okay. Yeah, and what'll be really interesting about this is you have all these passenger airlines that have planes that are not being utilized because of the coronavirus. And in one sense, that might make it easier and better for them to be able to take the vaccines, right? It might make it a little easier. The airports are less crowded. There's be fewer passengers on the plane. The flip side of that is there are sort of fewer planes flying. So it'll be, if you like logistics, this would be a good one to be in charge of or to be involved in, because it'll be really something to try to get, as many as 330 million Americans vaccinated, or at least those who would like to be vaccinated. And Maria has a question here. How does Laredo's growth in the perishables area compare to other ports like Nogales and other ports in Texas? Tim, do you want to take a crack at that, or would you like me to run with that one? Go ahead.
Go ahead and start with that one if you want. And I was just going to make a comment on the vaccine.
Yeah.
You talked, obviously it's kind of front and center, but obviously there's a COVID vaccine, but there's a lot of other vaccines that are out there that are getting, I say more and more, more and more momentum. More people are beginning to request, flu vaccines, general vaccines that are already out there. So some of our suppliers are obviously in the pharma industry. We don't store pharma, but they make components that go in the packages that where they mail these vaccines. And they're seeing a strong increase. So not just the COVID vaccines, but just vaccines in general. I don't have the data to support it, but what we're hearing anecdotally is that, that there's vaccines flowing out like we haven't seen.
Yeah, and these are in general before coronavirus, before COVID-19, the pharmaceuticals that are part of that, I call it perishable trade, are just enormously valuable. So you lose a pallet of peppers or something, it's a bad thing. You lose a pallet of pharmaceuticals, you've really taken a big hit because of the value of those things. So it's a big industry, and it's a very challenging industry there. So Laredo's growth versus others like Nogales and other ports in Texas. Laredo is enormous in the perishable space and just enormous overall. So it's far bigger than Nogales or FAR or I blanked on the one in just below San Diego, Otto Mesa. But those border crossings also do a tremendous amount, and they have their sort of subspecialty. So you'll see Nogales leads in some things or is growing in some things, and you'll see FAR is doing very well in a number of areas. Same with Otto Mesa, but Laredo, for starters, has so much in the non-perishable space, particularly in automotive, that it just makes it such a natural place that people are aware of. But I would say look at where the companies are building, and the data that the Techlo provided to me from the city shows you the commitment that a number of players are giving to Laredo. And I think, Tim, one of the things you said when we had our conversation a day or so ago was whoever the architect was of I-35 should get a statue built to him or something like that. Because I mean, one of the key advantages of Laredo is just having that straight shot up to the central part of the country, including through Dallas.
Correct. Yeah, it's a trade is going to follow the path of least resistance, right? So as long as Laredo can continue to be the path of least resistance, and the companies, U.S. cold storage and the growers down in Mexico, they're going to continue, to use that I-35 corridor to move freight.
Yeah. So let's go to another question. This will be our import question. Sorry, we did our export question. All righty, here you go. Port Laredo ranks second in the nation for imports of cookies, bread and pastries, avocados, beef, fresh or chilled. This is the import side, by the way. Tomatoes, all of the above or none of the above? This was probably just a little trickier than it needed to be. And Tatiana, before you share, I'm going to see if I can share again, see if I get it to work. There must be some glitch.
Perfect.
Can't figure out. Wait for a few more answers here, then we'll. Yeah, this one shows, the answers are showing that it's a ridiculously difficult question. But maybe it'll stick with you, the answer. That's the goal. All right, so let's share those results. So nobody thought it was cookies, bread, and pastries, okay? Avocados was the big answer. In fact, Laredo is number 2 for avocados. Tomatoes was a pretty big answer, and in fact, Laredo is number 2 for tomatoes, as it is for cookies, bread, and pastries, and it is for beef. So Port Laredo ranks number 2 for imports of all 4 of those things. Now let's see if it will let me share my screen. No, I can see it's making the same. Yeah, it's not. So I wonder what that is. That's a real weird glitch. I'll let you share, Tatiana, and then I'll tell you what to put up there. Whoops, hold on. I gotta remember how to reduce your screen so I can. Nope, that's not the button I wanted to hit. There we go. Okay. So let's see what we're doing. Let's start with the imports of bread, pastry, and cakes. And what you see there is that, and Tim, I think you said, we were talking, and what did you say the 2 biggest, oh, you're still looking for it, right, Tatiana? Yeah.
I'm showing it.
Oh, this is it? Oh yeah, I'm sorry, it is. So Tim, when we joked, you said when we talked, the 2 biggest perishable imports so far this year into the United States, I think that's what you were saying, is that right?
Yeah, it was the 2 largest commodities or products. I say retail food products that have seen the largest percentage increase since COVID. Number 1 being frozen pizzas, and number 2 being ice cream. So people are, the joke about what is it, the COVID-15 or whatever the case may be, it's probably not that far off.
Yeah.
People aren't at home, feeling great about themselves and eating healthy. People are at home. We've seen the largest increase, since COVID of those 2 products. I say us as a country. The country has. Yeah.
This data here is countrywide too. So imports of bread, pastry, and cakes, which includes cookies, are up 6.28% this year. and have moved to the 78th ranked import, and they were 85th last year. Overall imports in the United States are up a fraction, 0.66%, so way outperforming. We'll scroll down and see what countries and what ports are involved here. Two biggest markets on the import side are Canada and Mexico. They account for 70%, is that? 70% of the total. So you should not be surprised when we scroll down and look at the ports themselves to see Port Laredo's right there at number 2. And the Detroit and Buffalo Peace Bridge then are obviously, and Port Huron Blue Water, the 3 across the top there are all sort of servicing Canada. But Port Laredo's at 14%. So let's see what comes after that. After that, we're gonna look for avocados. And one of the, I think it's, Mission Produce, they're building 260,000 square feet and they will principally handle avocados. That's sort of their space. I'm not going to get through all these before we run out of time, so I will just get through a few more. And so there you see avocados. They're actually down 5.93%. And that may fly in the face what some of you believe to be true, which is that there's avocados pouring across the border. That could be a value situation. This is just the value of those imports. But the price of avocados apparently has been facing some downward pressure in the last few months. So that could be part of that. And if we scroll down, this one you will see is largely a Mexico story. 70% of the total year to date is from Mexico, and largely a FAR and Port Laredo story. So there, the earlier question was about how does Port Laredo compare? And here's an area where FAR does quite well with avocados. But if you put those numbers together, that's almost 2/3 of all avocados enter through these 2 border crossings in FAR and Port Laredo. So pretty impressive showing there. And now we'll look at imports of fresh beef, fresh or chilled. And I think it might be beef, comma, fresh, but let's see what happens. See if it finds it for you. That should find it. There you go. And by the way, I should mention this. We're importing more beef this year than we're exporting, and usually it's the other way around. So we're all back to the frozen pizza and ice cream. We're also doing pretty well on beef. We're consuming more beef than we traditionally would. And so there again, you see those numbers down slightly on the import side, 1.98%, but they were down more on the export side, and the rank has improved a little bit, even being down. And if we scroll down, we'll see that Port Laredo, you can see it there, but Canada and Mexico are the 2 biggest markets, accounting for whatever that is, 78%. If my math's wrong, I apologize, but 78%. We obviously get it from Australia and some from New Zealand and Nicaragua. And then Sweetgrass border crossing in Montana. That might very well be the only thing they rank number 1 in the nation in, and followed by Port Laredo. And click on 2019 there, Tatiana. I'm sort of curious what happens. So about this, now year to date again. So Port Laredo's share went up a little bit there, yeah. So that's the fresh beef category. So again, number 2, as you see, there's a lot of number 2s. Now we're going to strawberries and blueberries and raspberries.
Let me ask the question while I pull that up here. What's the difference between the imported and exported beef through Laredo? Higher value USDA prime is exported and lower value USDA select is imported? Question.
Oh, that's a question. That's actually something Tim and I spoke about. So it's a good question. Tim, why don't you take that? Because we actually, you talked about that.
Sure. I know Jerry and Alonso are on from our Laredo plants, but and they may be able to add a little bit to my comments. But primarily, what we see is if the beef export market in Mexico is weak, meaning I guess the price is low, manufacturing companies here in the U.S. will choose to import the beef from Mexico, and then exporting the same situation, right? But in general, what we see a lot of more prime cuts of beef going south into Mexico, and then some of your, like I say, your lower grade beef coming from Mexico into the United States. But it should be mentioned that beef that you find in a supermarket, maybe it may be U.S. beef, it may be beef from Mexico. It goes in both directions. It's a commodity, so it's pretty much driven by price on both sides.
Thank you, Tim. And so here's strawberries, blueberries, raspberries, and you can see a big increase there, 28, almost 27% from October of last year. And you have to remember on these numbers, October of last year, there was nothing going on that would distort the numbers. So this is a big increase from year to year, right? When overall imports are up only 0.66%. And the ranking is up slightly. It's up to 119 or 123. And we'll now scroll down and take a look at the countries and the ports. Well, this probably is no surprise to those of you in Laredo. 70% of all the berries in this category come through Mexico, okay? And then we'll scroll down further. We can see here's Otay Mesa from California, the one I mentioned, and FAR, and then Port Laredo. And that might shift. Click on 2019 here. You may see a little shift there. Occasionally, these markets can change somewhat. So you can see it's very close between those two, and Port Laredo's sort of 19% last year, and then year to date is what is Port Laredo year to date again? 21. So it increased a little bit. So it took a little bit of, and these two this year are very close in their value. Port Laredo, FAR and Otay Mesa, very close. So, and that's the berry industry is a particularly tough industry because as we all know, when we buy berries, particularly raspberries, but even blackberries to some extent, and a little bit of the strawberries, they really don't have a long shelf life. So let's see what we got here. Maybe we'll do, let's do one more. We'll do tomatoes, fresh or chilled on the import side. So there you go, big jump there too, 25% increase. So these are really big numbers. And what you've noticed, I've gone through all these, the changes are not all uniformly very large, but quite a number of them are. And we're doing a webinar for Philadelphia next week, and we've done one down here in Miami. These are all sort of big hubs for perishable trade. And this is something you're seeing nationwide. And it's really interesting because there's this surge of perishable foods, fruit, produce coming into the United States. And there's this shift from restaurants to homes. And then at the same time, there's a lot of unemployed people, and food banks are getting hit really hard. So it's a really interesting dynamic going on in this country right now. But tomato imports up 25% in 1 year. And the ranking's up from 144 to 186, from 186 to 144, sorry. And even up a lot from last month, which was 16.54%, which is the bottom of the first column there. So a big increase just from last month even. Let's scroll down there and see, and that very well may be a growing season. Tim, do you know about that? I'm not sure. That may be a growing season issue as much as anything, or no?
Yeah, Jerry and Alonso may have a comment they could put in the chat related to the growing season on tomatoes. But,
okay.
An interesting comment, I guess, is that we've seen, I know, obviously we're in COVID right now, and there's a lot of more push towards retail, but there's a lot of, again, I don't have the data to support it. You may, but there's kind of a focus on, just as a culture, as a country, seems to be a lot more diets and things focused around, a lot of vegetarian, pescatarians, all these different types of diets out there that are really helping to drive the consumption of fresh and frozen fruits and vegetables, perishable goods in the U.S. That's anecdotal, but that's my thoughts.
You do hear it more often. That very thing. So 84% of the tomatoes, one country, Mexico. Yeah, pretty impressive. And if you scroll down, this again to the question that Maria asked earlier about the border crossing. So there's the other one, Nogales. There's a lot of tomatoes. I believe they do a fair amount of watermelons too, if I'm not mistaken. But Port Laredo is second, along with FAR, and they're equal at 21% at the moment. So 42% comes from this basic area of the tomatoes entering the country. So with that,
And I don't know if you saw his note, Ken, from Mr. Valencia about tomatoes year round, and that many use greenhouses to have consistent supply throughout the year.
okay, so it should be, so that increase then from October is a real increase then. It's not seasonal at all. We're not, yeah, so that's quite interesting. So I'm going to grab the screen from you, Tatiana, and put the, unless there's any questions, by the way, or any comments before we, I'm going to see if I can get the, now where'd the PowerPoint go? You know, I'm just having a dickens of a time today, and I apologize for that. There it is. Okay. Well, I really am. I can't see the whiteboard. I'm having technical issues here, folks. I'm really apologize for that. This is, well, all that's left is to tell you if you want to contact us. It was going to give you the contact information. I'll just tell you if you need to reach out to me, it's kroberts@worldcityweb.com. kroberts@worldcityweb.com, or if it's easier to remember, kroberts@ustradenumbers.com. You can reach out to me that way. If you have any questions, again, our website is ustradenumbers.com. If you want to download any of the publications for Laredo or for any other markets that we do, they're all there. The PDFs are available for free, no cost. If you wanted a printed version, there's a nominal cost just for us to ship it to you. And if there's no more questions or comments, I'll let you get on with the rest of your day, but we'll be happy to take any last minute questions that anybody might have. And I don't see any at the moment. Am I right? No questions or comments? So I want to once again, what's that, Tatiana?
Looks like we're all set.
Yeah, I think so. So the other thing I do when I pop the PowerPoint presentation back up when I can, when I'm able to do that, is I once again thank our supporting sponsors and our sponsors, the City of Laredo through the Convention and Visitors Bureau, the World Trade Bridge, and the airport, obviously, as well as the Chamber and the Laredo, I started to call it Laredo Development Foundation, Laredo Economic, now you got me.
Development Corporation.
There you go. And also Laredo.
On LMCO.
Yeah, Laredo Chamber of Commerce. So I want to thank all of you for your help and support, and we hope you have a very happy holiday season. Merry Christmas, Happy New Year, and we'll hope that we get this coronavirus under control and the vaccines out there, and 2021 is really a terrific year for everyone. Thanks for joining us today.
Thank you. Thank you. Stay safe, everyone. Merry Christmas.